What if I told you there's a hotel room where no guest has ever left alive? A room where the key card always works, but it only unlocks the same nightmare. The walls have seen countless faces, the staff never ask questions, and the screams, they're never heard beyond its door. This is the true story of the hotel room where every visitor checked in, but never checked out. It stands on a forgotten street at the very edge of the city, the Hollow Pines Hotel. Small, unremarkable. Easy to miss if you're not looking for it, but once you see it, you can't look away. The sign above the entrance barely works. A dull neon glow flickers on and off like it's struggling to stay alive. The windows are stained with years of neglect, streaked by endless rain. And when you stand outside, you notice something strange. There's no sound coming from within, no voices, no movement. Only the steady hum of rain against cracked glass. Inside, the air feels heavy. It smells of damp wood, cigarette smoke, and something faintly metallic, something you can't quite place. The lobby is small, with faded wallpaper peeling at the corners. A single lamp casts a weak, yellow glow, leaving long shadows crawling along the walls. The floorboards creak softly beneath your feet, as if they're holding on to more than just weight. It's the kind of place that feels wrong, even when nothing has happened yet. Behind the front desk, there's a wall lined with old brass hooks, each holding a room key. Numbers 1 through 10, all accounted for, except one, room 6. Its hook is empty, always empty. The staff never speak of it. If you ask, they look away. Change the subject. They've learned not to linger on that room for too long. Locals know the stories. They call it the room that doesn't let you leave. They say guests who stay there never check out. Not alive. Some claim to have heard screams echoing through the walls in the dead of night, only for the room to be spotless the next morning. Others whisper about faces appearing in the mirrors, watching silently from the other side. And the photographs, they say sometimes, if you look close enough, you'll see someone in the window when the room is supposed to be empty. But for travelers passing through, it's just another old hotel, just another room. Just another story made to scare people away. Most guests don't ask questions, they're just looking for a cheap place to sleep. And that's exactly what she thought. Sarah, a writer on her way to a new city, tired, practical, unsuperstitious. She didn't believe in curses or legends or haunted rooms. She just needed a bed for the night. She arrived late, too late for most hotels to bother with a polite welcome. The streets were empty by the time she reached Hollow Pines. She'd been driving for hours, tired, her eyelids heavy. She just needed a place to rest. Nothing more. She pulled into the parking lot and saw the hotel for the first time. Small, faded, lifeless, a single light in the lobby window. And for a moment, she hesitated. Something about it felt off. She couldn't say why. But she told herself it was exhaustion. Just exhaustion. She stepped inside. The lobby was exactly as it looked from outside. Old wallpaper curling at the edges. A musty smell that clung to her clothes instantly. The air was still, so still it almost felt heavy. There was no one at the desk, no sound except the faint ticking of a clock on the wall. She rang the bell, once, twice. On the third ring, a man appeared from the back office. His expression was blank, tired, like someone who'd been there too long. "One night," she said, "just one night." The man nodded slowly, as if he already knew what she was going to say. Without a word, he reached for the hooks behind him. His hand hovered briefly over several keys, and then he stopped. He pulled down the key for room 6. The metal tag clinked softly against the counter. He didn't look her in the eyes. Sarah picked it up. She noticed how cold it felt, colder than it should have been. She forced a smile, muttered a thank you, and turned toward the hallway. But as she walked away, she thought she heard him whisper something under his breath. She couldn't make out the words, and maybe she didn't want to. The hallway was long and dim, lit by weak yellow bulbs that flickered every few seconds. The carpet was worn thin, the kind of pattern you couldn't tell if it was old or stained. The walls had crooked picture frames of smiling guests, but the eyes in the photos seemed wrong, as if they were looking past the camera, as if they were looking at her. Her footsteps slowed when she reached room 6. The door was plain, but the number plate was tarnished and scratched, like someone had tried to scrape it off. She slid the key into the lock. It clicked with an odd heaviness, like the door didn't want to open, but it did. The room smelled stale. The curtains were drawn tight. A single lamp in the corner buzzed faintly, casting weak shadows along the walls. The wallpaper was torn in places, revealing dark patches underneath. The bed was made, but the sheets looked untouched for years. And the mirror above the dresser? Cracked, with faint streaks running across it, like something had dragged its fingers down the glass. She told herself it was just an old room, just a place to sleep. But the moment she closed the door, the sound of the rain outside felt distant, too distant, as if the walls were keeping the outside world away. At first it was quiet, too quiet. Sarah set her bag down, sat on the edge of the bed, and let out a tired sigh. She told herself she'd sleep, wake up early, and leave. Simple. But as she sat there, she noticed something. The air felt different, heavy, thick, like the room itself was holding its breath. She glanced toward the bathroom. The sink was dry, the tub was empty, but she heard it, tap, tap, tap. She walked over, checked again. Nothing. When she turned back toward the bed, the lamp flickered, just once, almost like it was warning her. She shook it off. Old wiring. That's all. She crawled under the covers, closed her eyes, and listened to the rain. But just as she was drifting off, she heard it, a whisper, faint, right by her ear. She sat up fast. The room was empty. Stay. She froze, her heart pounding. She told herself she imagined it. She was just tired. But then, there was a knock. Slow, hollow, from inside the closet. Knock, knock. She stared at the closet door. The handle didn't move. The room was still. She waited, but there was nothing more. After a moment, she forced herself to open it. Empty. Just an old wooden floor, and an even older suitcase pushed into the corner. She stepped closer. The suitcase was covered in dust, and on the tag, a name she didn't recognize. A guest who'd stayed long before her. A guest who never left. Sarah pushed the suitcase back into the closet and shut the door. She told herself it didn't matter. Just an old piece of luggage someone left behind. Nothing more. She sat back on the bed and grabbed the remote. Maybe the TV would help drown out the unease. But the moment she turned it on, it flickered. Static. No channels. Just a distorted hiss filling the room. And in the static she thought she saw shapes, brief flashes, faces. But when she blinked, they were gone. She turned it off. Silence returned. Too quickly, too sharp. She rubbed her eyes and stood up, moving toward the cracked mirror above the dresser. She stared at her own reflection for a moment, tired, pale. She sighed, then turned to walk away. But the reflection didn't move. She froze. Slowly, she turned back to the mirror, and now her reflection was smiling. A cold, twisted smile she wasn't making. The lamp buzzed again and went dark. She stumbled back, her heart pounding. That's when she heard it. Soft, barely a whisper. Coming from the walls. You shouldn't be here. The whispers grew louder. From the bathroom, from the closet, from the very walls themselves. Sarah backed toward the door, grabbed the handle and twisted. It didn't move. She pulled harder. Nothing. It was locked from the inside. Then came the footsteps, slow, heavy, coming closer from the hallway outside. She pressed her ear to the door. They stopped, right on the other side. A single soft knock, then silence. Sarah stepped back. She felt her throat tighten, her pulse in her ears. And then, the closet door behind her creaked open by itself. Inside, the suitcase she'd seen before was now open. And scattered across the floor were photographs. Old, yellowed, water-damaged photographs. Each one showing a different guest, different years. Same room, same hollow eyes staring into the camera. She picked one up. The back had a date, 1987. Another, 1994. Another, 2012. Dozens of faces, dozens of years, all gone. She dropped the photos and stepped back. That's when she saw it on the wall, carved faintly into the peeling wallpaper. Names, scratched in by shaking hands, the names of those who came before her. And below the last one was hers, fresh, waiting to be finished. She froze, and then the bathroom door slowly creaked open. Sarah's eyes stayed fixed on the bathroom door. It was open just enough to see the darkness inside. The dripping grew louder, but she couldn't see where it was coming from. She stepped closer, her hand trembling as it reached for the light switch. She flipped it on. The bathroom mirror was fogged, but faint handprints appeared slowly across the glass, moving from the inside. The sink was filled with dark water, rippling slightly as if something had just been there. She backed away, and that's when she saw it. A figure, pale, motionless, sitting on the bed, its head tilted slightly, watching her. She stumbled for the door, twisting the handle again, still locked. Behind her, the figure stood, slow, deliberate, its reflection in the cracked mirror, smiling. "Stay with us." The lights flickered, then went out. In the dark, she felt cold hands on her shoulders, and a voice right by her ear whispered one word: forever. The room went dark, completely dark. Sarah couldn't see, couldn't move. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. The cold hands tightened around her shoulders, and then they pulled her back. When the lights flickered on, the bed was empty. The suitcase in the closet was closed again. The photos she dropped were gone, and the name carved on the wall? Finished. Her name etched deep into the peeling wallpaper. By morning, room 6 was spotless. The curtains were open, the sheets were perfectly made, as if no one had been there at all. That night, a new traveler arrived at Hollow Pines Hotel, tired, unaware. At the front desk, the clerk handed over a key, the same key for room 6, and the cycle continued. So if you ever find yourself here, don't ask for room 6, don't even look at it, because once you step inside, you may never leave. Would you dare to stay in a room like this? Or do you believe some places hold on to death itself? Tell me what you think in the comments. Like, subscribe, and remember, some doors are never meant to be opened.